We believe in being proactive communicators. We don't wait on them to reach out to us. We reach out to them. We have to remember it is the biggest purchase or sale of their life in most cases. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I am your host, Matt Smith, founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate, and also team leader for Matt Smith Real Estate Group, the #1 team in the state of Missouri and #8 ranked in the nation by Real Trends. This podcast is a movement to give back to this amazing industry. Has given so much to myself and my family, and this is my way to give back to the industry, and hopefully you find some value from this. Today, we are going to share some secrets on one of the hidden gems of real estate, and that is behind the scenes transaction coordination. We have one of our amazing transaction coordinators, Katie Harold, with us. Katie, say hi.
Hey, friends.
Katie, thank you so much for being here with us today. You've been on the team for several years, and you are definitely a huge asset to the company and do a lot of things behind the scenes in the transaction coordination part. And so I'm super excited to hear a little bit about your story, a little bit of your perspective of what transaction coordinators do, and more importantly, how they help real estate agents and other people grow their business. So without further ado, let's just dive in. So Katie, let's just start with, in your eyes, if you were to define what does a transaction coordinator do, what is a transaction coordinator?
Well, I guess I get this question a lot from some of our clients, just because a lot of times when I'm introducing myself, whether it's over video, text, or email, they'll ask me so what exactly do you do? And the best way I can describe it is I tell them it's like herding cats.
That's what I do.
I tell them I'm like a cat herder, and if anyone who has more than one cat, looking at you, Sean,
Sean, one of our agents that we make fun of for having cats. He's a cat dad.
Anyone who has more than one cat can tell you that trying to get a cat to do something that they don't want to do is definitely a challenge. And I say this with all the love in the world. Trying to keep a transaction on track is like herding cats, because you are constantly making sure that all of the moving parts are on the same page. Everyone's following the same map, and everyone is keeping in mind that our end goal is the same, which is to get the client to the closing table.
Absolutely. So
it could be anything from making sure that any emails, because there's so much email traffic that goes on. One of my key focuses is when I'm going through those emails, making sure anything that stands out gets over communicated to our client or the other agent or the title company. Just making sure everyone knows what's going on, so they're never sitting there in limbo with a giant question mark over their head.
One of the and why that's important is that if I believe in asking questions to our clients, right? I remember back when I first started in business, that's how I identify gaps. And that's where the growth is in the gaps. And so I want to hear other clients' past experiences, what maybe didn't go well, what went great, so I can do more of the great things and less of the not so great things. And the common theme, and I'm sure most people listening would agree, that throughout the industry, throughout agents, is lack of communication. And I love that that's one of your focuses, because that keeps the client in the know. It keeps them knowing what is going on. And we believe in being proactive communicators. We don't wait on them to reach out to us. We reach out to them. So if they reach out to us, that's a sign of, oh no, we probably should have reached out sooner. And so we have to set those proper expectations, let them know what that roadmap is, and just communicate with them so they understand what is going on throughout the process. We have to remember it is the biggest purchase or sale of their life in most cases. It's a big deal for these people. And it's sometimes easy, if you're a bigger team listening, to fall into the trap of it's just another transaction, but you can't. There are people involved. It's their lives, and this is the most important transaction to them. And so we have to give it the same time, care, and dedication, and it starts with the communication that we give them.
Right. And I do want to specify, I am not perfect. So even though that may be my end goal, it's still something
clip that out so we can play that in the next team meeting. She finally admitted it. just kidding.
No, but I say that because that really is what the goal is. But I also am very self-aware that that is not something that I am able to achieve every day. So it's something that we're constantly working on and constantly being aware of what we're doing. Sure. So that's the goal. If we're struggling with it or failing with it, we're going to know.
Yeah.
Trust me, we know.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, we definitely try to preemptively answer any questions before they actually get asked.
And it's impossible to do that upfront every time because it is real estate. And every transaction is different.
Oh, yeah.
Every client is different. Every deal is different. There's moving parts all over the place, right? So it's impossible to always do that. But that doesn't mean that it's not our goal, right? And so that's what we attempt to do. And you and the rest of our TC team do an amazing job at that. It's really, I say it all the time, it's the backbone of our company, right? It truly is. And so without our transaction coordination department, without our amazing operations staff, our marketing team, everything that makes us who we are, we would not be able to do what we do. Agents wouldn't be able to do what they do. I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And so I think it's really cool that we're opening up the playbook and kind of going behind the scenes of, we talk a lot about having more sales and leadership. And I just think that this is a huge, huge key for a lot of businesses that could really create that leverage for an agent. Whether you're a single agent just getting started, whether you're a single agent selling hundreds of homes a year, you have a small team, medium team, large team, having someone that has Katie's strengths and having attention to detail, over communicating with the client and owning the under contract to closing process is crucial to your leverage, to your growth. It gives the client better service and it allows you to focus on other activities so you can go out and create more business and grow and scale. It's a crucial part of the transaction. So let's talk about what are some of the common things that a transaction coordinator handles. So like a typical day in the life, like what does that look like? So when we get something under contract in our company, we just hand over the file and say, here you go. And now it is your baby. You own it. The agent comes in and handles some negotiation points, but that is your file and you have ownership of it.
Right. So, we'll get a file, and one thing that's pretty important to understand is that when we're getting files, we're going in blind. So we do have to play detective a little bit just to figure out, all right, what is our closing date? What is part of the contract? And so we take the file and we make sure the lender and the title company has it. We run it by the broker to make sure that the broker is like, yep, this is in fact a contract. You're good. You're one step closer. And from the moment we submit the file to a lender or title company, we're pretty much making sure that every term in that contract is being met so that there are no delays, so that nothing's missing, so that everyone has exactly what they need in order to keep the process moving forward.
Yep.
And so we have almost like, I know this is like Colin's favorite thing, like a bird's eye view of the file, and we maintain that, but we also need to have the ability to zero in on
100%.
Those small details.
It's a great analogy.
And make sure that, all right, this is our bird's eye view, this is our end goal, which is the closing table. What small things could be potential hiccups, and how do we make sure that we are being proactive on that and not letting it get to a bigger issue.
I absolutely love that. So that opens up so many, I'm glad you went there because that's so crucial. And I wouldn't have thought to talk about it on the show. So I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the gaps that I've identified in real estate is, in theory, right? I, as a real estate agent, write the contract. The lender does their part. The title company does their part. The inspector does their part. The appraiser does their part. And then I go to closing. But in reality, that is not how it works at all.
No.
Right? And so what we do is we provide a level of customer service for the client. We provide a level of developing that roadmap of what to expect and handling those problems in advance so they don't become, they're still small problems versus big, large problems. In addition to that, I would like to think, and I say this with respect to all of our amazing vendors, lenders, title companies we work with, but we also provide a level of accountability to ensure that they stay on track for our clients.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's so crucial that we've had, that's not going to lie, that's been a difficult road to pave. Some people didn't know what to expect whenever we were proactive and helping them, assisting them with their job, and they may have taken it as we were overstepping. But what we realize and what we do our best to communicate is that we are partners in this transaction to help that client. That's what matters most. And so we are here to assist, and we are very, very proactive and over communicate, and we want to know what is going on at all times so that we can help.
Exactly.
And I think that there's just so many moving parts that we have to be that one that jumps in and proactively identifies those problems before they become a big problem.
Right. And it's interesting that you say like people who aren't familiar with us or who don't work with us often tend to think we're stepping on toes.
Yes.
And when we are reaching out and asking questions, it's very much a Jerry Maguire, help me, help you. Like the more information I have, the more I can do something with that information. So
but what I love about those situations is at the end of the transaction, most of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for all of your help. Right. But they're just not used to that because that's the level of service that we provide to our clients.
No, they're really like some are not used to having someone be a middleman between the client and the agent. Even though we're associated with the team, we'll have some lenders who are like, okay, but so what? Who are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, please just let me help you.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you, if you reach out to me, the agent's still going to know what's going on, but I'm going to be able to help you a lot faster than the agent's going to.
And because again, our model is different than some people, right? We run our model with a team model where agents go out and do agent things, and then operations does operations things, marketing does marketing things, right? Like that's just our model. We believe that the client should be the center of all the things that we do, and that provides them a higher level of service because you are a specialist in the contract to closing. I would be willing to bet we could do 100-question quiz on problems, situations in a transaction, what a contract means, and you would ace that test, and half the agents would like barely pass, right? Not to say that was not a dig on the agents. That's just not what we focus on. The agents need to have a basic understanding of the contract and situations, but then they need to trust our amazing operations department to be able to handle the client, take care of the client from there. Right. And like that's just such a different perspective. And ultimately, I'm just thinking about what is the ultimate goal? If I was to summarize what a transaction coordinator should do in a real estate company. And I think the best summary that I can give, the role of a transaction coordinator is to own the client experience. How many clients, how many buyers, how many sellers have a bad or not as good experience as they could have because something goes wrong once they're under contract? A majority of them, right? What we try to do is be proactive with that and over-communicate, set those proper expectations, apply that extra customer service, those extra expectations, make sure those deadlines get met, hold those lenders accountable, hold the title company accountable, make sure that we have the inspection done on time, make sure the appraisal's back on, make sure all of the deadlines are met, which sounds simple, but in real estate it isn't, right? And to make sure that is done so that ultimately that client that is making the biggest purchase or sale of their life gets the experience that they deserve. And that is the key to an amazing transaction department, is that is your focus. It is not just another number. These are families. And if we do this stuff correctly and we focus on the client experience, they're going to be over the top excited about their new home, which they should be. They're going to be over the top excited about them moving to another home, which they should be. And that's our goal, right? So I want to switch gears a little bit. We have task list, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Maybe you don't know exactly, but roughly on an average file that you intake, how many tasks do you have per file?
Oh, I actually know this.
Of course you do.
So it does differ between if we're working with a buyer or seller, just because there are some parts of the contract that are seller only items, and there are some parts of the contract that are buyer only responsibilities. But on average, it's between 35 to 36 tasks, and that's from start to finish. So that includes, we get a file and we start digging into it and we start our intake process. We submit it to where it needs to go, to the actual like meat and potatoes of like, we're under contract and now you have to keep track of all these contingency deadlines, to closing it out with the broker. So each and every client, we're doing at a minimum 35 to 36 items to get you from under contract to the closing table. But I say minimum because some of those items we're checking on constantly, like that appraisal, for example. The appraisals are probably one of the hardest things to keep track of because it is so out of our control. All we can really do is just be a fly on the wall and monitor and like nudge every once in a while, be like, hey, what's going on?
Pleasantly persistent.
Be pleasantly persistent.
Yep.
It's a nicer way of putting it.
Sometimes that's hard to do. But
yes.
so that just reminded me, I wrote a note down, the intake process. Like if I'm thinking for our audience here, if it's an agent listening, well, why do I need a TC, right? So if an agent said, why do I need a TC? Number one, first and foremost, you can't be great at everything, right? Like I'll take my experience. When I developed the team model years ago, it was because I had at one point in time, I had 42 or 44 pending contracts at one point in time as a single agent, pending on the pendings board. There is no possible way that I kept up with all those deadlines. I communicated, and I say this humbly, and I'm being vulnerable to just share this as the importance of having someone like Katie on your team. I went to closings and I couldn't remember the client's name. That's how busy that I was. And that was an aha for me. I'm like, all right, this is not about the money. There's people here and I need to make sure these families get taken care of. And what could I have done if I would have had a Katie back then, if I would have had a transaction coordinator back then to enhance that client experience so that they could have had that red carpet service that they deserved? Right? It's not just about closing the sale. It's about the experience the client has. And not only that, but also I'm not the best at paperwork. I'm not the most organized person in the world. And most agents aren't either. And so one of the things that a great transaction coordinator can do is catch those things that are mistakes that are made often, either by the other agent, either by yourself, a change in the contract, a deadline that's misquoted, something to be a second set of eyes to ensure that the contract says what it's intended to say and it's accurate for the broker, right? Like there's a big piece there. Not only to make sure everything gets executed, but also let's make sure the paperwork is accurate. You would be amazed, maybe not, but most agents would probably be amazed by the amount of contracts that we receive from other agents that are incorrect, right? And I hear that from my coaching clients. And so it's just another avenue of that insurance policy, if you will, or a safety net to ensure that your paperwork is accurate. And ultimately what it matters is if your paperwork's not accurate, can you really look out for your client's best interest if the paperwork, if the contract doesn't say what you thought it said?
Oh, no. 100% no.
Yeah. And so that's what a great transaction coordinator will jump in and help with. And I would challenge you again, if you're an agent and you're like, oh, I don't need a transaction coordinator. Number one, just be open-minded. If you want to grow, you need leverage, and TC is one of the first hires as you're growing and scaling to give leverage to you, to your future agents, and to your team, and also enhance the client experience. It's a win-win on both sides. And what I think that we need to look at is how much time, energy, and effort as an agent are you spending on things that are not producing more income? What we focus on as an agent, and what I realized years ago when I developed the team, was I want to focus on the things that bring in income and allow me to serve more people. And if I can find someone, again, I'm not great at everything, right? And I'm not great at organization. I'm not great at paperwork. I just want to throw up. I don't want to do those things, right? That's not in my wheelhouse. And so I believe going all in on your strengths, all or nothing, right? I want to go all in on the things that I enjoy, that I'm passionate about, and I think I can help serve more people at the things that I'm great at. And so what I believed in was finding other people like Katie that have skill sets that are great at the organization, great at the paperwork, that are great at the deadlines, great at the accountability, loves email. My emails have 14,000 unread messages, right? I'm not a good TC. So you compare those two, but you combine those strengths. What it allows Katie to do is what she is great at, what she enjoys. And it gives that client the benefit of Katie being the one that is doing what she is enjoying and delivering that experience. In addition to that, it frees me up that I'm not spending 50, 60, 70% of my time, which I've had a lot of agents that I coach do time studies on. And if they don't have a great TC department, they're spending 50% plus of their time doing CPR and transactions, playing firefighter, coordinating with the lenders, doing all the stuff that doesn't help them increase their leverage in their business and serve more clients. And what could you do if you could have 50% more of your time back at a minimum, focusing on the things that you're great at, focusing on the things that grow your business? That's what a great TC allows you to do. It creates that leverage for you to grow and scale. And even if you don't want to grow and scale, say you're happy where you're at, quit pulling your hair out and working all kinds of hours late at night. Find someone that is great at the stuff that you don't want to do, that can deliver that client experience, so you can have more money if you want it, or more time. Both of them are valuable. It depends on where you're at in your career. But a TC is a key hire for that. Let's talk about we talked about tasks. Is there anything else you want to mention on tasks as far as what a TC does that would be relevant?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that communication is that we are like, yes, there are tasks involved, but really what those tasks do is they trigger us to check in on where we're at communication wise on each part of the contract. So if I get a task telling me, hey, where are we at with title work? That triggers me to communicate with the title company. Do we have title work? Has the client received a copy of their title work?
Sure.
Does the lender have the title work that they need for the loan? So, and that could apply to appraisal or loan or anything. Those tasks are tasks, but they trigger us to make sure that everyone's communicating on the same page.
I love it. I love it. We talked about a little bit about red carpet customer service. I think that's so crucial. If you're a real estate agent listening, or maybe you're a TC listening, hope you get value from this. I think that it's important to realize, again, your goal is to lay out the red carpet for the clients. Don't just fall in the habit of, well, I sent them an email and they didn't respond. Was the goal to send them an email, or was the goal to inform them? There's a difference, right? And so you have to make sure that it was received, that it was understood, that it was delivered professionally, that it was delivered in the right timing, the right tone, et cetera, right? There's customer service involved with transactions, way more so than just checking a box, right? And so I think where I see transaction departments that from across the country and maybe some of our own personal growth is that where it doesn't work as well as it could is if we fall into the trap of, well, that's not my problem, number one. Number two is we just check a box, right? And we have to realize, and that's one of the things that we do great, and it's been a focus for a while in our organization, and I love the growth that we've had in that, is to be more personal with our clients. One of the things we implemented is, sorry, Katie, but less emails and more video text, more phone calls, more personalized communication, so that we get to put a face with a name, right? And they get to understand they're in good hands and who they're talking to, and it helps develop that relationship other than just the agent. Because here's where it could go. Let's talk about where it could go wrong, right? And this is something that, full transparency, we are working on improving right now. I had a meeting 3 days ago. Recently, I don't know what day it is right now, but recently I had a meeting about how we're going to improve this in our own organization. And it is some newer agents had brought it up, and some TCs had brought it up, both in a very helpful way, right? We believe in feedback in our organization. And one of the things that were brought up was we don't have very, very clear lines on what an agent does and what a TC does. And there's a little bit of blurred lines and gray area there. And so what we are developing is a very clear line. And as a TC, you don't step over, and as an agent, you don't step over. We trust each other, and this is what's best for the client. Now, that being said, there are exceptions to rules.
Right.
Real estate, every transaction is different, but my rule of thumb is 80% of the time, this is the line, don't cross it. Now, is there exceptions? Of course there are. Are there things that need to be different than what's on the list? Of course there are. But 80% of the time, we're providing clarity of this is what a TC does, this is what an agent does, and this is the way we do it as an organization, period. Right? I think as we've grown in scale, what we've learned is sometimes say Katie is a TC and Colin's a TC. Well, Colin develops his way, Katie develops her way, and then they each have their own agents, and then they develop a different way with each agent, and then it just gets too blurred across. Not to say that we don't need to have, hey, Colin's agents prefers a text versus an email. That's not a problem, right? But whenever the core process gets adjusted too far and too many moving parts as we grow, as we scale with a bunch of new agents, as we scale in new locations, we need that clear line of here's what you do, here's what you don't do, right? And I think that will really, really help if you're getting a TC, is you need to develop what that process is. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty much said it, because they're like, my agents, I love them, but I'm also very much like, I don't want you to worry.
Yes.
Unless I am reaching out to you.
If I need you to worry, I'll tell you to worry.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's very different with the client. Like with my agents, I'm very much like, no news is good news.
Yep.
Just trust me. With the clients, it's very much like, everything's going great. We're just hanging out, waiting for stuff. But with the agents, I'm like, unless I'm reaching out to you in like full blown panic, like we're good.
Yep.
We're good.
And I think that goes to that's meeting personalities, right? And I think that's where some of the adjustments can be made, meaning that doesn't need to be a clear line. That can be a preference of communication style that we can adjust to. Because as an example, if I'm an agent and you're my TC, I hope I can trust you because I'm putting all my eggs in your basket. I'm going out to get more. I'm going to hunt. I'm going to get more. I'm going to change more lives. I'm going to help more people. And so here you go. Let me know if you need me. But if not, I'm going to keep running.
Right.
But there's some people that have the personality of they have baby bird syndrome, right? They're the mama bird over the nest, and they just want to check in and make sure that everything's going right. And I think there's two parts there. You need to develop that relationship between the agent and TC to have that trust, right? But then also different people need communicated with in different ways. And so a recommendation that I might make is those agents that have that need that they want to be communicated with, just BCC or CC them in the communication with the client when you're letting them know what's going on. So they're a part of it. And they know that, hey, just want to let you know, no news, but everything's going good. If you need anything, let me know. Right. Just over communicate that. And I think that could help eliminate some of that also.
Right. And like some of my agents, they are CC'd on all the emails
They just don't read them.
They just don't read them. So if anything
Sounds familiar.
If anything does ever pop up, whether it's good or bad, I'll take a screenshot of the email and text it to them and be like, just so you know where we're at, this is done.
Perfect.
And that way it's like, because some agents, phone calls really scare them. For me, phone calls also really scare me. So I've kind of found a way to like, okay, so
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I'm like, they don't like email
because they're not going to read the email because it's probably you. I know you enough that most of the time you keep all the emails in the same thread.
Oh yeah,
and so
I've never deleted an email.
Yeah, and so if the agents are going through, there's like 48 emails that they have to go through to find the right one, and you know if they're in a rush between appointments, I totally get it. So I love that you take a screenshot of what you sent and said, hey, just so you know.
Or I even take a screenshot of what we received.
Yep.
Like if there's something that's going back and forth, I'll take a screenshot of be like most recent response, get your popcorn and like send it to them.
Colin, I just had an idea. Let's in the spirit of contribution and providing more value, what if we were to share for those people that reached out about this episode? If you're watching this, maybe we can link it in the show notes. We could just do a copy of. We can make a unbranded version of our task list. If someone's interested in what does that look like, to share that to help other people.
Absolutely, it'll be in the comments.
Awesome. Hopefully that'll be benefit. I think that may be helpful for some people. Is like, here's what does a task list look like? Well, we'll give you a template of kind of the basics of what it looks like, what we have found that works for us. Cool. Personal success stories is a list thing on here. Did you have some success stories you wanted to share?
I have one that's kind of been my favorite.
Let's hear it.
So, do I say names or? I mean, I don't remember specific. I remember the agent that I was working with. He had sold a house out in like the St. Louis area.
Okay.
So it was with Jim and his
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
He wears suspenders, so he can't be Jim. He has to be Jimbo. That's the rule.
He went to a final walkthrough with our buyers, and the buyers recorded a video on his phone saying thank you to me at their final walkthrough. Yeah. So that was really cool. That's the first and only time that's ever happened.
That's awesome.
And it did bring like a little emotion. I have a heart, so
I love it.
But that's probably one of my favorite ones because it was totally unexpected. I was like, why is Jim sending me a video?
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you got that fulfillment of, because what you do, you probably, a lot of times TCs have like a, I don't want to say a thankless position, but it's hard to kind of see the end result. You're not at the closing. You're not handing the keys over. Right. And so I love that you got that recognition. And I love that how that made you feel, because that's, just so you know, you do that for all of the clients. You just may not always get that video, right? Like that's what you do. When I say that the TCs are our lifeblood, like it's a huge part of what we do here. And our core focus here is changing lives. That's what we do every single day. And like without you and your department, we would not be able to do it at the level that we do. So you should realize that every time you have a closing, you had that same impact. But I love that the client thought to do that.
No, that was like the coolest thing. They made him record a video, and
Yep.
I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I love it. I remember being an agent, and like one of the things that I prided myself on was giving thoughtful closing gifts when I was an agent. Right, is that I wanted to thank them, and I wanted they had a dog, they had kids. Like I thought through what to give them that was relevant, and I remember getting closing gifts from clients, and I'm like, you're giving me a closing gift, and they're more thoughtful than one I gave you. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's a really good feeling, and it makes me want to do more of it. Right. Very cool. Katie, is there anything else that you want to kind of hit on?
I don't know, because I feel like we've covered a lot, and some of like what I've been saying is kind of pretty redundant because it all goes back to the same thing, and that's what we were talking about the client experience and what our end goal is, and just making sure that we're in over communication.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to boil down everything that we do, it all stems back to over communicating so that the client's happy and it's a smooth transaction.
Absolutely.
I got a question for new TCs or struggling TCs. Do you have any tips for working with difficult agents?
Difficult agents, I'm going to add to that, or difficult clients.
So putting me on the spot. So I'm going to do two parts.
Is it drink a lot of wine? Is that your answer?
No.
Oh, okay.
So for when it comes to difficult agents, I think the best way to ever really try and get any kind of resolution is to just make sure that you're approaching it from you and I both have the same end goal in mind. So this is what, if I'm reaching out to you in this manner, or you feel like I'm nagging you or trying to be like a mother and like harassing you for things, it's because these are items that are definitely needed. These are items I can't do on my own. These are items I need your help with. And I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it to make sure that our client gets to the closing
100%.
table and there's no problems. So I feel like as long as you come from that approach, like we're both trying to do the same thing. I'm not coming at you to attack you. I'm reaching out to you repeatedly because this is something I really need your help on.
And I think that applies with a TC to an agent, also with a lender, or with an appraiser, with a title company, with a vendor that maybe is making repairs. Any of those things is that, and I say this, and this, it's so parallel with sales. Customer service and sales are almost one and the same. And so what I mean by that is, I say this a lot in sales, it is your job to get on the same side of the fence as them. You don't need to argue. You don't need to be combative. We're trying to accomplish the same thing. Like, we're on the same team here. I want what you want. I want what's best for the client. You want what's best for the client. I'm just trying to help you get there. And so I want you to first and foremost realize, Katie, that I'm on the same side. We're on the same team. Like, we have the same goal. And so I love that that's where you start, is that sometimes you just we need that reminder, because it can feel and just again, let me play devil's advocate as an agent. Agents are unorganized. They are on the go. If they're productive, they're on the go constantly. They live out of their cars. They live off their phone. They're between this showing, then this walkthrough, then this inspection, and then they got to call this lead. And like, it's just, it's a constant whirlwind, versus as a TC, you're head down focused in your environment, in the desk, in the office, right? And so it's easier for you to stay organized because of your environment. And it's way less reactive than an agent at times. And so it's easy for you to be on top of things, and the agent to be busy for 3 hours, and they come back and they're like, holy cow, Katie's texted me 3 times. Like, what's going on? Why is she mad at me? And you know what I mean? And so I see how that miscommunication comes in, and where the agent could be like, oh no, where did I drop the ball? And in reality, you're just like, no, I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to be proactive. Right. Yeah. I love that.
A lot of times, like you say, we're not trying to be combative. Like, if we do question, like, I know if I do get an email from a title company or a lender that I don't understand, and I come back and I'm questioning it, it's because I'm trying to get a better understanding so I can explain it to the agent when they do have a chance to catch up to me, so that the agent and I can communicate that to the client when we have a chance to get to them. I'm just trying to make sure that I have as much information as possible so that I can communicate it
for sure
and pass on like a message. Otherwise, it's like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
It just gets funneled down, and then the message gets diluted.
100%. It does. It gets diluted, and it's not even the same message.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I love it. Colin, is there anything else?
think that's it.
Awesome.
Solid information.
Yeah, this is great stuff, Katie. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing. And guys, if I hope you got value from this. I know I want to restate a couple of things. The goal of a transaction coordinator is to own the client experience. If you can have the client experience elevated, you are going to get more clients, more repeat, more referral business, and it's going to allow you to create leverage in your business, in your life, so you can go and have more time or grow more sales. It is so crucial. It's an important part of our business. It's one of the things we focus on consistently. And you heard me say it here. It is the lifeblood and it is the foundation of what we do. Without a great transactions department, we would be spinning our wheels. You can make all the sales in the world, but if you can't keep the deals together, you don't communicate, you don't deliver a great client experience, it's all for nothing. And so if you're on the fence about getting one, if you're wanting to know, hey, how important is it? It's so important that you're constantly improving and growing your transaction department. I really think if you're an agent that is selling more than 10 houses a year, you need a TC, period, right? So it starts there all the way up to teams of hundreds of agents. You need an amazing TC department. It's such a crucial part of your business, and I hope you got some value, some alignment, some tactical takeaways. And like we said in the show notes, we will link the task list that we use. We'll make an unbranded version so that you can have that to get you a fresh start, maybe use it to compare to what you have to maybe improve, and hopefully that'll be of value to you. So guys, as always, this is a movement to give back. All or nothing in real estate is not a way for me to make money. It's not a way for me to do anything other than to provide value and give back to the industry that's given so much to me. So if you found value from this, share it with a friend. We're trying to grow this movement. We're trying to help more people. You guys constantly are sharing it. We are constantly seeing more downloads, more views. And so thank you for helping us get the message out, but don't stop. Keep going. Let's help more people. Let's change more lives. And thank you so much for watching.